Good evening. Good to be back with you again, Mr. Coffman, Superintendent of Ritchie County Schools. A few other topics that I would like to discuss, and most importantly, these topics need to be discussed because I'm constantly getting lots of questions, when I'm out and about the county, and I do feel like they need to be addressed. One of them is, what are the chances that we possibly could get some of our other schools, such as Creed or Harrisville, renovated like we did Smithville? And so I'm going to address that now. And by the way, also there was a point in history that I'm sure some people are still a little bit afraid that it might not happen because of what happened in Harrisville, however long, 5 or 6 years ago, however long it was. Well, the good news is the SBA is fully vested still in Ritchie County, as proven by the high school, middle school project. The second bit of good news is the SBA has corrected many things. They now have construction estimators on board so that what happened in Harrisville, which some of you that don't know, the scope of the project was too large for the amount of money that the SBA was asked for. And then when the construction bids come in, there was a difference of $1.4 million, and they were unable to do the project. The good news is the SBA has corrected that, and it's not happening. There were other counties that similar things happened. They fixed that problem. So I wanted to make sure we mentioned that. The thing that I want to say most importantly about can it happen? Well, as pointed out by some of our citizens, and they're right, we are still eligible by code. We are still eligible to receive money even though those schools are 53 and 54 years old. Technically, we're still eligible. But here's the problem. Times have changed. Instead of maybe giving out a couple $100 million, the SBA is only able to give out $50 million a year. Now, with 55 counties and numerous schools in every county, it's pretty easy to see if they only have $50 million to give out. It's a very difficult project. They do a good job with it, the SBA does. But chances, unless you've got an emergency like a collapsing roof or bad leaking or no heat or something like that, schools that are over 50 years old rarely nowadays are able to get renovations, because renovations usually include a very expensive process for an old school and usually add-ons like we had at Smithville. So I just wanted to clear that up. Yes, it's possible, but very unlikely. It was stated in this county 2 or 3 different times recently by SBA officials themselves. The actual numbers, in case you want them, because I know there's been numbers put out, the SBA, in conversation with them a few days back, just to get right to the point, in those 2 schools, based on population, the age of the school, so on and so forth, between the 2 schools is between 4.5 and 4.9 million. If you add them together, that's approximately 9.6, 9.7 million. If we were to get the money in Ritchie County combined to renovate those schools, you're talking, 9 million. All right, for the sake of conversation, 9 or 10 years ago, it was estimated that it would cost, and recently even more because things go up, let's say it costs between 8 and 10 or 11 million dollars to renovate each school. If you add that together, you subtract out the maximum, if you even got any money from the XBA, then you're still talking a difference of about 10, 11, possibly even $12 million that the taxpayers in some kind of a bond or levy would have to come up with. Now, currently, Ritchie County Schools is asking the taxpayers for $7.9 million. And I'm mentioning that only because you need to understand how this all fits together. And for a new school, $7.9 million, or do you have to come up with 10, 11, 12 million? That's quite a bit of difference. And you're still left with 2 old schools, still with those maintenance costs, still with those operating costs, and you still have 2 schools instead of 1 school. And it's we've already cleared up earlier that we all like small schools. We just can't afford to keep them all open. So leaving the SBA aside, and recently they've given more money to Smithville. They've given money to the high school, middle school, and we've put in anywhere from $100,000 to $300,000 on separate projects. So we are still putting money in different places since 2011. The last couple things I want to mention is our Board of Education. There's been some negative things said, and I'm going to just say it real short and simple. We don't have too many people working. They're not making too much money. They're making less than the other counties. There's less people on staff than the other counties, including the directors. Myself, I've worked for the same salary for 4 years. We're not mismanaging it. We're not spending extra, and there's not too many people over there. They care as much about what happens to our children, which is what this video is about, as much as anyone in the county, and they do an excellent job. So hopefully, we cleared that up. Also, I want to talk about class sizes, and I'm looking down at my notes here to make sure I don't miss anything. Class sizes and loss of jobs. I think we're going to prove without a shadow of a doubt, we're going to go back to Ellenborough again, which was discussed earlier. When we start school next year, every person that thought they might possibly lose a job is going to be employed. That's service and professional. So that's a very good thing. And also class sizes, I would encourage you to get a copy of this. There's a few out in the community. The paper, I think, maybe has shared it. But what it says is the class sizes in Ellenborough, as they've left and went to Harrisville and Creed for next year, they're going to, the average now is 16 students per class. It's going to end up being like 17.5 or 17.8. And the other thing is we have classes now that have 23 in them, and we have some that have 9. There's going to be better balance. And also, of the 25 classes that will be in elementary next year in Ritchie County, only 4 of them will have more than 20 students, and those 4 will have 21. So hopefully that clears that up. It's good news for everybody. It's good for the kids. The other one is the academic move of the 5th graders. Let me just sum it up this way. Academics are going to be better. School safety is going to be better. Socialization is going to be better. And facilities certainly are going to be better. So I'm anxious to see how that pans out. We've got everything lined up, and we do feel that's going to be a very positive move. As far as taxes, it's been widely publicized that taxes are not going to go way up like people think, and doing what we've been doing here with the school system. And finally, I do realize that change is different, and this is the last thing I want to say to you. But fear of change can cripple us, and it can hurt our students if the rest of the world passes us by. It's important to say that. We all know that change is difficult, but if you will just remember the students, and if you want to research it, any time that you take or any effort you put in to checking on things as to whether or not it's concerning the kids is time well spent, and it's a good investment. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and hopefully this clears up some of the questions. If not, or if you want any of this information, feel free to contact me at any time. Good evening.